Marianne Williamson is announcing her candidacy for president of the United States today, March 4th. And her announcement, yeah, right. Yeah. Help is on the way, everybody. The cavalry is coming. On the way. Yeah. Just when we were beginning to despair. Just when we were beginning to lose hope. But she teased this formal announcement.
40 acres and a power crystal.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. She teased this announcement about a week and a half ago. Kyle Kulinski was all over this. So he put out a video not only trying to hype up this campaign launch, but also lamenting that the media is already treating her unfairly. Now, this was about a 16-minute video. We are not going to play the whole thing. We put together a few pieces of it that we feel are worth watching and responding to. This is overall about 4 minutes. It's sped up slightly, mercifully. And so here we go.
Smears are already starting against Marianne Williamson. This is not a surprise. We expect it. We also expect it's going to get way, way worse as time goes by. We know that the...
No, it's not going to get way worse as time goes by. It's actually going to lessen as time goes by because she's not going to be in the conversation for all that long.
Democratic establishment and their media goons like to play dirty. But this is very, very early in the process for the smears to start. So
no, it's not early in the process for the smears to start. The week before her campaign launch and the week after her campaign launch, that's about the window where you can expect the smears to happen, because that's about the window of time where she is going to remain a story. He has it in his head that this is going to be a story for the next year and a half, that they're going to have a year to get their digs in against Marianne.
Which just why? Why? Why would you think that? He's been in this game long enough. Are his view counts really in the toilet? Because this video, you would expect, because this is one of those topics, the clickbaity kind of topics, you would think he would have done all right with it. When I looked at it, it had 25K views. So that tells me a lot of people are subscribed to Kyle who don't watch Kyle anymore. And maybe he's just desperate to juice this up to get viewers, because I wouldn't consider him, just completely idiotic. I think he's boring. I think he's lucky. I don't think he has the talent to be in the position that he's in. I think he just got in early to this space. But I don't think he's a moron. What is causing him to throw his common sense out the window like this?
All right, here we go.
So here's MSNBC. They're going to talk about how it is now all but official that Marianne Williamson will run against Joe Biden, and we'll dissect this. Here we go.
I don't think the White House ever expected to get a serious challenger, and I wonder if they would even consider Marianne Williamson a serious challenger at that.
Didn't even get her name right. Marianne Williamson is what she just said. I don't know if the White House will take her seriously. Yes.
Remember, Kyle doesn't go live very often. I think he only pre-records most of his videos. As, people who live stream 6 hours a week, that happens every once in a while. I mean, that's not really a valid gripe there. Yeah.
Well, and we're the last people to defend MSNBC. But, that's dirty pull.
From the Democrats about how democracy is so important. We're saving the country from Donald Trump. He's doing an assault on democracy. We believe in democracy. Yes.
Stop it.
Then all of a sudden...
You're not good at accents. You're not good at character work.
We try to exercise democracy, and they're like, democracy! You want to challenge the guy? Bro, he's an ironclad candidate. You can't beat him. It's not like he's 85 years old and can't complete a single sentence anyway.
And I think they really risk here giving her too much attention, but it is going to be somewhat of an annoyance to have her out there openly criticizing Joe Biden. She's
risk giving her too much attention, and she's an annoyance. Hold on now, wait a second. You guys are the media. Aren't you supposed to call balls and strikes? Instead, it's almost like they're giving advice to the White House.
Hold on. They are, in this case, calling balls and strikes. Now, we are not defenders of MSNBC here, as everyone watching this must certainly know. But when your candidate is polling at 0, you cannot accuse them of not properly calling balls and strikes by describing her as nothing more than an annoyance. They talked about Bernie that way too, but the reason that was unfair is because Bernie was polling between 30 and 45%. He was a serious and formidable candidate. So when they do that to Bernie, that's being unfair. When they do that to Marianne, it's not being unfair. It's not that they're all of a sudden these great people and fair-minded journalists. It's that the circumstances now happen to collide with their narrative, which is that Joe Biden's only challenger is a pathetically unserious candidate.
Right. I wouldn't even call this a smear. It's not a smear. They're doing a little like, oh yeah, this kooky new agey guru is
they're filling a block on their daytime show. They got 24 hours worth of news to cover. They're giving us a block because why not? Right?
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. They're not threatened by it.
Right. Yeah.
It's not concerning them.
Right.
They know she's going to go nowhere and bend the knee 5 seconds after she drops out. She's not a threat.
Right.
It's giving her too much attention. And she's quite, risking her. She's a challenger to Biden. By definition, they should have to give her attention if they believe in democracy. She's going to be an annoyance. She's an annoyance. Look at how smug they are. Look at how condescending they are.
Condescending, she polls at 0. How do you condescend to someone who polls at 0? There was a recent poll put out that included her with Bernie and Biden. In that poll, she polled at 7 because she was one of 3 choices. In the polls that give people 12 choices, she gets 0, right? So when you force her onto the question, she gets 7. When you don't force her onto the question, she gets 0. What do you mean they're condescending to her? They're not giving her her due? What are you, insane?
Well, what's really disgusting about this is the way he's trying to use the grievances of what remains of the Bernie left, or the scattered remnants of the Bernie left, and get them to transfer those grievances on behalf of Marianne Williamson. Look at how condescending and smug they are. I mean, yes, in general, not really here, because as you say, she's polling at 0%. What do you expect them to do? Would it be rational if they went up there and did a segment? Well, Joe Biden's in trouble now. Right. Marianne Williamson is about to announce her candidacy. Would that segment even make any fucking sense? What are you talking about right now?
Exactly. Yeah, he's comparing apples and oranges, as I mentioned earlier, right? He's acting as if the reality of the Sanders campaign and the Marianne campaign are the same, and they're getting equally dismissive treatment by the corporate media, which is just a perverse distortion of reality.
This is how they manufacture consent, right? This is what they do. It's you better not step outside of the bounds of the Overton window.
You don't have to manufacture anything. She's polling at 0. They're not manufacturing anything.
They don't have to do anything.
Right.
If by some, Dr. Strange does a magic spell where she's polling at 45%, then they'll pull out the big guns, sure. But that's not what this is. This is, as Keaton says, it's a time filler. It's a time filler. They got a lot of hours to cover until they're selling the juicer at 3 a.m.
Of course. And look, I don't feel like it's necessary to make this point again. I trust the viewers to understand this. We're not saying they wouldn't go nuclear on Marianne if she became a threat. We're just saying that you can't say this treatment is unfair to her because she is not a threat at this point. That's all we're saying.
Right.
And treated like a fool. They're insulting everybody's intelligence. By the way, a poll just came out the other day. Only 25%.
You're not.
You're not insulting the intelligence of the people who still watch you.
They're insulting everybody's intelligence. By the way, a poll just came out the other day. Only 25% of Americans want Joe Biden to run again. 25%. So based on that poll, shouldn't you be out here saying
Marianne Williamson to replace him?
Yeah,
that would be the more relevant thing, because the choice isn't Joe Biden or Marianne Williamson for most Americans. The choice is Joe Biden or the Republican.
Right.
Yeah. Marianne Williamson is not on the menu.
Also, if 25% of Americans want Joe Biden to run again, that is not as bad a number as you might think, because about 35% of Americans are Republicans who are, of course, going to answer no, they don't want Joe Biden to run again, right? Registered Democrats comprise what? About 30 to 35% of the voting public? I would imagine most of those 25% who are enthusiastic about Joe Biden running again are Democrats. So there's not even the opening that he says there is when he says only 25% want him to run again.
Right.
25% want him to run again make him an extremely vulnerable general election candidate. But they don't necessarily make him vulnerable in a primary, because the primary process is closed off to people who are in the club, in the donkey club. And he's going to do very well inside the donkey club.
And that's what Democrats never understand. But people who came out of the Bernie movement certainly should understand this. You always got from the Hillbots, Bernie Sanders, he couldn't win the primaries. Why do you think he could win the general? Because Democrats don't represent the country, you fucking moron.
Right.
You people are repulsive to most of the nation. Only somebody who would lose the Democratic primary can win in most cases, right? The kind of person who could win the country would never make it through a Democratic primary, as a rule. The only thing that got Biden in there was an apocalypse. That's it.
And that barely got him in
COVID, that barely got him in. Without COVID, we're in the second term of a game show host that the media relentlessly tarred as a Russian agent for his entire presidency. He still would have gotten reelected without COVID. That is how little being effective in a Democratic primary means in terms of a general election.
Hey, great. Biden as a challenger. This is, the majority of Americans want to replace him. Well, here we go. Now here's another option.
With someone credible.
Nope. They're playing
also,
defense.
half of the Americans in that poll want to replace him with either DeSantis or
with
Trump.
A Republican.
Right. So again, it's apples and oranges.
For the Democratic establishment and the status quo.
All right. So
Guys,
there's that. They're carrying water for the Democratic establishment and the status quo, which, of course, I would argue Kyle is as well. Right.
Sure.
Just in a different way.
Sure, because he's not opening up the political possibility of just not investing in the two-party duopoly at all.
Right.
He's not willing to go there. He's not willing to open that up because he's auditioning for it to be corporate media 2.0. And you don't become corporate media 2.0 by going all Kashama Sawant.
Well, that's the thing. He would say if you're not willing to invest in this primary, that you are a defeatist and a nihilist. That's what he gets into here in the second portion of this.
Guys, we have a real opportunity here.
I love that. Guys.
Come on, guys.
We have a real opportunity here. We got a real chance here. Guys, listen. We got a real opportunity here to grow my channel. Okay? Yeah. We have a real opportunity here for you to watch my show and subscribe to my channel and sign up at my Patreon and get really invested in this narrative that I'm about to sell you for the next year. You have a real opportunity here.
Yeah,
it's not just the left that is frustrated with Biden. Of course, the
all of your resentments, all of your bitterness from the 2016 and 2020 primary, for me to draw on all of the language of Bernie primary voter rage in order to juice my channel and keep Crystal from leaving me for somebody with more view counts.
If he had a team of producers, which I don't know that he does, that's what he would say. Guys, we have a real opportunity here. Real opportunity. Yeah. But no, he's saying that to the audience. He's saying that to us.
Here. It's not just the left that is frustrated with Biden. Of course the left is frustrated with Biden. It is normie Democrats who are frustrated with Joe Biden. Normie Democrats. Also, independents and moderates who might not like Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis or whichever Republican it's going to be. She has a real opportunity here. Now, I'm not saying she's the favorite. I'm not saying she's going to win. Of course,
that's
I don't know that. And of course, it would be absurd.
Oh, that's good. Ooh, thanks for not getting our hopes up too much. No, she's not the favorite. She's not the favorite. Yeah, it would be absurd to say she's going to win. It's absurd to predict a double-digit showing for Marianne Williamson. It's absurd to devote a 16-minute video segment on gassing up your viewers about Marianne Williamson. That's what's absurd. It's absurd to say she's the favorite. Like, getting quite a bit ahead of yourself there.
Well, the video that we broke down with him and Crystal was it was similarly delusional. It's just, what the fuck are they doing? Yeah, these New Hampshire Democrats, they could go for a candidate like Marianne.
Well, that's the thing. So, like I said at the beginning of the segment, we did, cut together what we thought were the most relevant parts of the segment. He does get into, because I don't want to be accused of manipulating what he said, he does get into that whole thing, which we've covered on the show in the past, that the New Hampshire Democrats are pissed off that South Carolina is going first, and that a lot of Democratic leaders are looking to recruit primary challengers, and that this means war in New Hampshire. And if Marianne Williamson can pull out a win in New Hampshire, then we're off to the races, because then all of a sudden a challenger has successfully won a state against an incumbent president. Of course, what he doesn't realize is that the narrative as to why that was possible is going to be the same narrative that the media employs to dismiss a Marianne victory in New Hampshire, which, by the way, I strongly doubt will happen. But if it does, they're going to say, well, figures it would happen here because the New Hampshire Democrats were pissed at Joe Biden. Next, what's next? Nevada, Biden. What's after that? Georgia, Michigan, Biden, Biden. All of a sudden, Biden has 3 out of the first 4. And like I said, it's absurd to even talk this way because she's not going to win New Hampshire. But even if she does, the idea that that's going to take her anywhere is absurd. New Hampshire has not picked the Democratic nominee since 2004, by the way. New Hampshire voted for Clinton in 2008. They voted for Bernie in 2016 and 2020. So it's not as if, as goes New Hampshire, so goes the Democratic primary. So even if she does shock the world and win New Hampshire, the idea that is going to translate to serious momentum is just, it's absurd. It's absurd. Recent history proves that it's absurd.
Well, not to mention that South Carolina is going first, and you're getting behind somebody who's actually whiter than Pete Buttigieg. So how do you think she's going to do there? Right? Even if she did, by some miracle, win in New Hampshire, it's going to be so easy to tar that as the white vote.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And if you think Joe Biden's scoring under 90% in South Carolina, you're completely on another planet. James Clyburn has already said, I'm in Biden's corner. Day one. He waited until the week before South Carolina to endorse him last time. Now he's saying before the race even starts, he's my guy. So Biden gets 90+% in South Carolina. That's the end of the primary right there. After that, I don't even think any candidate could win New Hampshire after that. The momentum is just going to be too much to slow down after that. So this is all nonsense. This is a marketing gimmick for the Secular Talk YouTube channel. That's what this is.
Hey,
well, and hey, man, Crystal and Sagar stepped away from their regular paycheck at the Hill. And as they're always saying on the show, they're running a small business. And hey, man, they got to keep their money coming in. Sagar, I'm assuming he doesn't give a fuck about this. I honestly, she's been pissing me off so much with this. I haven't been watching Breaking Points that much. But I'm assuming Sagar probably has our view on this. He's not going to insult Crystal to her face by saying that. But I'm sure he sees through this immediately. But is she really going to try to drag their whole channel into that?
I don't think so.
Sagar is probably Sagar is probably thinking right now, well, when you decide to go into business with somebody, it's a marriage. And,
well, look,
I didn't see this coming.
He may put up with it to a certain extent. Look, the difference between Breaking Points and Secular Talk is that because Sagar is on Breaking Points is not a Democrat channel, the way Secular Talk is a progressive Democrat channel. And this is the only game that progressive Democrat channels have. They can't let an election cycle come and go without backing a candidate because that creates a dead space. They have to back a horse. Right? We had the same issue. Look, we started this audio podcast.
Broaden their political vision a little bit.
Well, that's the thing. They can't. They can't. That's what we did. Look, we started this show in 2019 as an audio podcast. We were not on YouTube. We started it a month after the Sanders campaign launched. We knew, we're not stupid, we knew that the Bernie campaign gave this show a sort of narrative arc. It gave the show a momentum that we didn't really have to put any effort into maintaining because the campaign maintained it for us, right? After that campaign ended and after the 2020 election came and went, sure, we had some doubts about how we were going to structure the show now that we didn't have a built-in through line. It got to a point where after Biden was sworn in, there was a little bit of a slow news period for about 5-6 months. There was just not much going on. The Build Back Better negotiations hadn't started yet. It was just this, standard, thing that happens. The president gets a honeymoon period, and he was getting a honeymoon period of slow news coverage. And we took that as an opportunity.
Do a regular show then.
Well, we took that as an opportunity to take a bit of a mental health break and step back from the show for a little bit. We're not going to try to manufacture a fake narrative to sell people just so they can consume our content. Like, if we don't have anything to say, we'd rather just not say anything and live our lives, right? But once you get in this game enough, you can't do that. And if, as you said, you're unwilling to broaden the content of your show and the scope of your audience, then you're stuck in this paradigm of election season's here. We need a candidate to back. Who's it going to be? Oh, Marianne's going to run. Right. Okay, it's time to sell the audience on Marianne so that they don't tune out. That's exactly what that is the beginning and the end of what this is.
Sure. Well, let's also look. If Kyle turned around and said, this is all bullshit, we need to build outside power, he'd lose a lot of his audience. Of course. And it would take him time for word to get out. Oh, shit, Kyle got off the reservation, and gain a new audience to replace it. And maybe he never would have the same numbers. And for him, that's a non-starter. And that's why you can't trust him anymore.
Exactly.
If you're not willing to piss off audience members and lose subscribers, you can't be trusted.
Exactly. We piss off audience members every week.
All the time.
All the time.
We can tell with certain segments.
We're like, we're going to lose. We're going to lose
subs, and you see the subs drop, and then you see a few people who like what we said, and then
they tick back
up, and then yeah. I mean, that's it. If you got to come on here and lie, man, there are jobs where you get paid a lot better to lie. Go be a lawyer.
Right.
All right. That's you want to be a professional liar. Go be a corporate lawyer.
But I will say, you fight as a matter of principle. Marianne Williamson is a trillion times better candidate than Joe Biden is. And you find the meaning and the purpose in the fight to get her elected. We know it's an uphill battle. We know it's...
You find meaning and purpose in the fight to get her elected. So this is where he gets into talking about despair and nihilism versus activism and hope. You find meaning and purpose in fights that are winnable and in fights where you can put small wins on the board even when you lose. So today, workers strike back. Shama Sawant's labor movement is launching in cities throughout this country. If they had a launch event in New York, I would be there with my camera now. Unfortunately, they don't, which is kind of upsetting, actually. Although not surprising, New York is a Rockefeller Republican town. It is a capital-dominated town. It's going to be harder to get something going there than you might think. All right. But anyway, that's for a different conversation. Point is, those are movements you can invest in to find not only the kind of fulfillment that Kyle is talking about here, as in purpose being in the fight, purpose in the struggle, but those are movements that can put real wins on the board for real people. Shama Sawant is one council member in one city, but she has won numerous gains for the people in that city. There are a lot of people living in Seattle with roofs over their head now who, but for her efforts, would not have roofs over their head. So did she win a presidential campaign? No, but she built labor power and in the process improved the lives of ordinary people to a great extent. A failed Marianne Williamson campaign does none of that.
Not to mention, with the money that she has, go fund it yourself. Right. Call Oprah. You're friends with Oprah? Oprah has all the money in the world. Call Oprah. Why are you going to ask working people who already got burned twice on this, on a much more credible campaign effort than anything Marianne Williamson is going to launch? And that was the point that RBN made. Hey, We don't have this money and time. We're working people. Why should we do that? Which she had no credible answer for.
Right. Exactly.
And that should have been the end of the conversation.
That's the end of the conversation, right?
She didn't have an answer for that.
We know it's an uphill battle. We know it's difficult. But that's why you do it. That's why you engage. Because what's the other option? Sit out, be nihilistic, pretend like you're above it all, and then actively...
No, the other option is not sit out and be nihilistic. I just explained one of the other options, a worker strike back labor movement. Here's another option, mutual aid. The guy we featured on the show a couple different times, we showed videos of him, who brought a van full of bottled water to East Palestine, Ohio, to give out to struggling people whose water was not usable in their homes. What that guy did is a hell of a lot more purposeful and meaningful than writing a check to Marianne 2024, right? You want to find purpose? You want to find meaning? You want to join the struggle? Bring a case of water to a family who needs water. That's what you can do. And there's an opportunity cost here because this is zero sum to working people, as the RBN guys said, right?
That's it.
It costs a few $100 to load a van full of water, and take it to people who need it. If you're going to give Marianne Williamson those few $100, you're not going to be able to do that, right?
Well,
and that's the cost.
Look at the platform Kyle has. I've never seen him go and tell people to donate to like Standing Rock. I've never seen him go on his show and try to really get support for those kinds of movements and get people to donate to those kinds of causes. I just see him play the two-party politics game. That's it. Right. I've never seen him try to get support for anything else.
I don't believe I've seen it either. I've seen him maybe cover Standing Rock. This was a while ago. I don't know if he's ever gotten as involved as this. Again, I haven't seen. I'm not saying he didn't. I don't watch all of his videos.
He doesn't get involved in those radical causes. I mean, I used to watch a lot of him. And I'm not saying he won't say a kind word about Standing Rock, but I've never seen him be like, okay, so they need people to show up here.
Right.
Like, look, man, you got that platform. So listen, this is what I'm getting at. Listen, guys, we have a tremendous opportunity here to steal Kyle's audience. So what I want you to do is tell people to stop watching Kyle and start watching DueDissidence. Because
we have an opportunity
if you give us this platform, we're not going to do with it what Kyle is doing.
Listen, guys.
Right? So that's the opportunity.
We got an opportunity here. We got a huge opportunity here.
Will into existence your prediction that this is going to go nowhere and she's going to collapse and it's done. What's the point of even fighting? Well, again, that's why I say you fight as a matter of principle. You say, I know this person would be better than Joe Biden. I know her heart's in the right place. I know she's going to fight for stuff like $15 minimum wage, getting money out of politics, getting universal health care, etc. And so you fight as a matter of principle. And even if you don't get to the finish line, at least you left it all out there on the field. I don't know about you guys. That's the only way I'd be able to sleep at night.
At least you left it all out there on the field. Meaning, at least you watched my channel. Hey, if she loses, she loses. At least you watched my videos about her. At least you kept me in the game. At least you kept me relevant. That's what left it all out on the field. I couldn't sleep at night without trying to hit that 1 million subscriber mark. I've been stuck at 970, 980 for a year or so. I couldn't sleep at night unless I knew I did everything I could to cross that 1 million sub mark. And we got an opportunity. We have an opportunity, guys, to get me there. Let's do it.
Look, you give us 1 million subscribers. Do you know who's not going to be able to sleep at night? Jamie Dimon. Because we will never give him a moment's peace. We will question the practices over at Chase Bank and why they supported Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we'd be doing with that platform.
Right, which is a long way of saying, give us 1 million subscribers, and you know who won't be able to sleep at night? Us, because we'll probably be dead.
Yeah.
They probably will not let us get that far.
Please clap.